Yes, Governor Newsom. So this is a question about your proposed law that mimics Texas's SB 8. Given that we've already seen, protections on assault weapons and starting to get there on ghost guns, what is the goal basically of this? Would this be to drive gun manufacturers out of business? And what impact would you say this law would have on something like, say, mass shootings?
Well, the law is the law. We want to enforce the law. We want to provide people the tools to enforce the law. And private right of action is now allowed by the U.S. Supreme Court. And that will allow more eyes and more, a greater prospect of people to be held to account for illegally, the laws are the laws, illegally distributing, manufacturing, or selling these weapons of war. And they're nothing less than that, just weapons of war. And so our goal is to address the issue of gun violence, which is significantly increased. Look at the stats. Montana is one of the highest homicide rates in the country. South Dakota. It's interesting, the murder capital, tragically, California is Kern County. It's just not a red or blue issue. It's, this is a serious moment. And gun violence in this country is a very serious issue. And so we're very soberly and seriously not only drafting that legislation, as I said, first draft, but we're working with the legislature to advance it and put it into effect.
And just one more question. What do you make of concerns that similar laws could be used against other disfavored rights in red states, and that this kind of law is sort of a Pandora's box that we're opening?
Well, I think Justice Roberts was absolutely right. It is a Pandora's box. And I think California's exercising this approach is proof of that. And so what I make of it is what I expressed initially when this law was established in Texas. I think it was a terrible decision by the United States Supreme Court. And this decision has been made. And to the extent this decision's used to put women's lives at risk, we're going to use this decision to save people's lives by addressing the issue of gun violence here in the state of California.
Hey, Governor, Jeremy White with Politico. I also have a question about the gun bounty law. Clearly, you're testing the legal theory that the Supreme Court validated by upholding Texas's law. So if this bill you're proposing is indeed passed and you sign it into law, is it your expectation and indeed your goal that there's a legal challenge that will then test this theory for a different type of legislation and perhaps put this matter before the Supreme Court again?
Well, it was tested, and the Supreme Court adjudicated in its favor. Now, to the extent it's tested again, I imagine if the law is written as it's intended to mirror the key components of the Texas law, then we should expect a similar outcome. Again, I think it was a terrible decision. I've never supported that law. We've been consistent about that, and many of us here have been very vocal about that law. But again, if a law is going to be used to put women's lives at risk, we will use that law to protect people's lives. And we're serious about it. And to the extent the Supreme Court wants to reflect on its own process and its own decision-making, I would encourage them to do that. I'm very worried about this court. I'm very worried about the direction of this country. And right now, I'm very worried about escalating increase in violent crime all across this country, particularly gun-related crime. And we believe this approach could help save lives in the state of California.
Governor Newsom, Azul Dahlstrom-Ekman from KQED again. Just one more question about the proposed law that models after SB 8. Who would be allowed to sue, and who would be able to sue? I know this law is still being written, but do you have any ideas on that? And if Attorney General Bonta wants to comment, that'd be great too.
Yeah, if he wants, I'll ask him up. Private right of action along the lines of those that are well established, apparently now, not apparently, but seemingly established in Texas as it relates to their abortion law. So individuals, including yourself, would have that right on the basis of the law that was passed in Texas and the law that we hope to pass here for gun safety in California.
And thank you, Rob Bonta, California Attorney General. The proposal that's being developed with the legislature, the governor, and the Department of Justice is modeled after SB 8 in Texas. So it's the same model as who is allowed to sue there. It's generally private individuals. Individuals in Texas for SB 8, it'll be individuals in California here who could provide a force multiplier to support our common sense gun safety laws to make more people safe and save more lives. So it's the same model as SB 8. It's everyday folks in the state of California.